Vladimir Putin's wealth has been the subject of much speculation, debate, and controversy, with estimates ranging widely due to the secretive nature of his financial dealings. While there is no official disclosure of his net worth, several independent investigations, media reports, and political analysts have attempted to gauge the extent of his wealth. These estimates, however, often vary considerably, and most of the information is circumstantial, as Putin has never publicly confirmed any details about his personal finances. Sources of Putin's wealth. Putin, who has served as the president of Russia for multiple terms since 1999, is often viewed as having accumulated substantial wealth through his position of power. The sources of this wealth are primarily thought to come from a combination of state assets, corporate influence, and alleged connections to oligarchs and wealthy businessmen who owe their fortunes to him. Some of the most common theories regarding Putin's wealth include state assets and control. As the leader of Russia, Putin wields immense power over the state-run enterprises and natural resources, particularly the oil and gas sector, which has been a significant source of revenue for the country. Allegedly, Putin and his close allies have benefited from the privatization of these state resources and companies, which have been managed in ways that funnel substantial profits back into their hands. Connection to oligarchs. Over the years, Putin has formed close relationships with several Russian oligarchs, individuals who gained vast wealth during the privatization of state assets following the collapse of the Soviet Union. Many of these oligarchs are believed to have offered financial support to Putin in exchange for political favor and business opportunities. Putin's inner circle of friends and allies often includes businessmen who have close ties to Russia's largest corporations, such as Gazprom and Rosneft. It's widely believed that Putin's wealth is indirectly tied to his control over these individuals. Real estate holdings. Putin is often speculated to have a significant amount of real estate holdings, including properties both in Russia and abroad. Some reports have claimed that Putin owns multiple luxury homes, palaces, and even yachts. The most well-known example of this is his alleged ownership of the luxurious Black Sea Palace, a massive estate near Gelendzhik, which was exposed in a 2021 investigation by Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny. This palace, reportedly built using state funds, is said to be one of the most expensive private residences in the world, though Putin has denied owning it. Control over business interests. Numerous reports suggest that Putin, through his allies and loyalists, has a hand in various sectors of the Russian economy, including construction, media, energy, and mining. By controlling key industries, Putin and his associates have been able to extract significant wealth, often in the form of kickbacks and privatized state resources. Corruption and alleged embezzlement. Corruption has long been a central theme in discussions about Putin's wealth. Investigations have suggested that Putin's regime is heavily involved in corrupt practices, using state resources and funds to amass personal wealth. Whistleblowers and exiled Russian businessmen have provided various accounts of how Putin allegedly enriched himself through corrupt deals, bribery, and embezzlement of state funds. Estimates of Putin's net worth. The actual amount of Vladimir Putin's wealth remains difficult to ascertain, as his financial affairs are shrouded in secrecy. However, several organizations, journalists, and analysts have made efforts to estimate his net worth. These estimates vary widely, with some sources suggesting modest sums and others proposing astronomical figures. Forbes, a publication known for its regular rankings of the world's wealthiest individuals, has historically avoided attempting to calculate Putin's exact wealth due to the opacity surrounding his financial holdings. In the past, they have suggested that Putin's wealth might be in the tens of billions of dollars, with some estimates reaching as high as $70 billion. However, they have also noted the difficulty in quantifying his wealth given the limited access to information. Independent investigations. Investigative organizations such as the Anti-Corruption Foundation, funded by opposition leader Alexei Navalny, have attempted to shed light on Putin's wealth. In their 2021 investigation, they revealed alleged ties between Putin and various luxury assets, including the supposed ownership of the Black Sea Palace. Although the investigation was inconclusive regarding the exact amount of his fortune, it showcased a massive scale of assets potentially linked to the Russian leader. The Panama Papers. In 2016, the Panama Papers leak revealed the offshore holdings of many global leaders, including Putin's associates. While no direct proof of Putin's personal wealth emerged from the papers, The documents did show how some of his close allies were involved in extensive offshore deals that allegedly benefited him. For example, companies connected to Putin's inner circle were involved in the purchase of luxury properties and other valuable assets. Putin's lifestyle and personal assets. While much of Putin's wealth is difficult to directly trace, certain aspects of his lifestyle provide some insight into his personal finances. In addition to the reports of his luxurious properties, there have been numerous claims of his extensive network of private jets, yachts, and other high-end assets. Some reports suggest that Putin has access to a variety of elite services and goods, even if he does not personally own them. It's widely believed that his lifestyle, including his taste in fashion, cars, and vacations, is funded by the wealth of the state and his loyal oligarchic associates. Yachts and aircraft. Putin's personal yachts and private jets are often cited in media reports as examples of his extravagant lifestyle. While the Russian government denies that he owns these assets personally, it is believed that some of these luxury items are at his disposal through his inner circle. The Kremlin has frequently denied the ownership of such items, but the speculation around these assets persists. Palaces and properties. As mentioned earlier, the most famous of Putin's alleged properties is the sprawling palace on the Black Sea coast. The property has been the subject of controversy since an investigation by opposition activists. Despite Putin's denials of ownership, the palace is said to be equipped with extreme luxury, including an indoor ice rink, wine cellar, and several other lavish amenities. Real estate in Moscow and abroad. Putin's assets are believed to extend beyond Russia. There have been rumors about properties in France, Italy, and other European nations, although details remain unclear. Additionally, there have been claims that Putin's family members hold assets and properties abroad, further complicating any efforts to accurately estimate his wealth. Political and public reactions. Public reaction to Putin's wealth has been mixed, with many critics arguing that it reflects the deep-rooted corruption and inequality within Russia. For years, opposition politicians, journalists, and activists have criticized the concentration of wealth among a small elite, accusing Putin of enriching himself while the majority of Russian citizens face economic hardship. In contrast, some of Putin's supporters view his wealth as a reflection of his leadership and the strength he has brought to Russia. They argue that the success of the Russian economy, particularly in the energy sector, justifies the accumulation of personal wealth by those in power. However, these views tend to be more common among those who favor his regime or align with pro-Kremlin political groups. Putin's denials and lack of transparency. One of the most prominent features of the discourse surrounding Putin's wealth is his steadfast refusal to disclose personal financial information. The Kremlin has consistently rejected calls for transparency, and Putin himself has downplayed any suggestions that he has a fortune beyond what is publicly available. For instance, in response to accusations of vast wealth, Putin has claimed that his official salary and assets are modest compared to the financial power he is alleged to wield. Putin's lack of transparency and the absence of an official financial disclosure have only fueled suspicions about the true extent of his wealth. As a result, it is widely believed that his wealth is far greater than what is officially acknowledged. Conclusion: the precise wealth of Vladimir Putin remains a mystery, as direct evidence is scarce, and much of the information comes from circumstantial evidence, leaks, and investigative journalism. While estimates range widely, it is clear that Putin has amassed a significant fortune through his control of Russia's economy and state resources, as well as his connections to oligarchs and wealthy elites. Whether his wealth is truly in the tens of billions of dollars or somewhat more modest remains an open question, but it is undeniable that his financial empire is tightly interwoven with the power structures of modern Russia. Ultimately, the lack of transparency surrounding Putin's wealth ensures that questions about his financial dealings will continue to be a subject of intense debate and speculation, with few concrete answers ever likely to emerge. Putin's alleged ties to the Russian elite and oligarchs. The nature of Putin's relationships with Russia's oligarchs has long been a point of intrigue. These individuals, who gained immense wealth following the collapse of the Soviet Union and the privatization of state assets, have been tied to Putin in various ways, both publicly and behind the scenes. Many oligarchs owe their fortunes to their close connections with Putin, and it's widely believed that their financial success has been facilitated by maintaining loyalty to him. Putin's approach to the oligarchs has been selective. In the early years of his presidency, many of Russia's wealthiest men were allowed to operate with a certain level of autonomy, provided they did not challenge the state or his authority. However, in the early 2000s, Putin moved to consolidate power by curbing the influence of oligarchs who had become too powerful. The most prominent example is the case of Mikhail Khodorkovsky, the head of Yukos Oil, who was arrested in 2003 on charges widely seen as politically motivated. Khodorkovsky's downfall is often seen as a warning to other oligarchs about the risks of challenging Putin's authority. Since then, many of Russia's wealthiest businessmen have cultivated close ties to Putin in order to secure their wealth and business interests. Some oligarchs, such as Roman Abramovich, have been connected to Putin through various business deals and friendships. Abramovich, for example, has reportedly been part of the inner circle of wealthy individuals close to the Kremlin, and his holdings in companies like Sibneft, now part of Gazprom, were considered by many to have benefited from his proximity to Putin. Other oligarchs, such as Alisher Usmanov and Igor Sekin, have similarly cultivated ties with the Russian leader to secure their business empires. Putin's family and wealth. While Putin himself is known for his reluctance to disclose details about his personal life, various reports have linked his family members to a variety of luxury assets. Putin has a known history of keeping his family life private, but investigative reports have attempted to draw connections between his wealth and the wealth of his close family. One notable aspect of this is his rumored ties to his daughters Maria and Katerina. The two women, who have largely remained out of the public eye, are said to have benefited from the family's wealth in various ways. Some reports suggest that Maria and Katerina may have access to offshore assets, luxury properties, and other financial resources, though this remains speculative. In recent years, there has been growing attention on the wealth of Putin's alleged family members, who are thought to benefit from their father's power and wealth. Putin's rumored connections to his family's wealth have added another layer of complexity to the discussion of his own fortune. For example, the former wife of a prominent Russian businessman, who allegedly has ties to Putin, has reportedly shared details of how the Putin family has amassed a wealth of assets abroad. These include luxury apartments in London and Monaco, as well as luxury jets and yachts. While there is little direct evidence connecting Putin's family to vast financial holdings, it's clear that the Russian leader's close associates and relatives are inextricably linked to the wealth generated by his time in power. The role of Russia's energy industry. One of the primary sources of wealth for both the Russian state and its ruling elite, including Putin and his associates, is the country's vast energy reserves. Russia is one of the world's largest producers of oil and natural gas, and these resources have played a crucial role in bolstering the wealth of Putin's regime. Putin's power over the energy industry has enabled him to control a key part of the global economy. State-run giants such as Gazprom and Rosneft dominate the Russian energy sector, and many of Putin's close allies have significant stakes in these companies. Through his influence over these state-owned firms, Putin and his loyalists have been able to extract enormous profits from energy exports. Gazprom, in particular, has long been the focal point of discussions regarding Putin's wealth. As the world's largest producer of natural gas, Gazprom is responsible for a large portion of Russia's revenue, and its financial dealings have raised numerous questions about the extent to which Putin and his allies have personally benefited. Key figures within Gazprom, such as Alexei Miller, are thought to have strong personal ties to Putin, and many critics argue that the profits from the state-owned monopoly have been used to fund Putin's private wealth. Similarly, Rosneft, another state-owned energy company, has also played a central role in the wealth of Russia's elite. In 2016, Rosneft was partially privatized and became a major target for scrutiny regarding the concentration of wealth among the Kremlin's allies. Igor Sekin, the head of Rosneft, is a close ally of Putin and has been described as one of the most powerful men in Russia. His wealth, linked to the energy giant, has been cited as part of the broader network of financial interests that Putin is believed to control. The international impact of Putin's wealth. Putin's personal wealth and the wealth of his inner circle has had far-reaching consequences beyond Russia's borders. The opaque nature of Putin's financial dealings and the links between his regime and some of the world's largest corporations have sparked concerns about corruption, illegal financial flows, and global tax evasion. Many of the assets linked to Putin's regime are rumored to be held in offshore accounts or hidden through a complex web of shell companies and intermediaries. Investigations such as the Panama Papers and the Pandora Papers have revealed how the Russian elite, including Putin's associates, have used international tax havens to shield their wealth from scrutiny. These findings have fueled international calls for greater transparency in financial dealings and for stricter measures to combat corruption. The European Union and the United States have both imposed sanctions on Russian oligarchs and officials, many of whom are thought to have close ties to Putin. These sanctions are part of broader efforts to hold Putin's regime accountable for its actions, especially in the wake of Russia's aggressive foreign policy, including the annexation of Crimea and its involvement in the conflict in Ukraine. Putin's wealth and the ways in which it is protected have led to growing concerns in Western capitals about the influence of oligarchic power in Russia and its potential to undermine international law and financial systems. Public perception and criticism. The Russian public's perception of Putin's wealth is mixed. On one hand, many Russians view Putin as a strong leader who has restored Russia's global stature after the collapse of the Soviet Union. Under his leadership, Russia has seen economic growth, particularly during the early years of his presidency, due in part to rising oil prices. This has led to a certain degree of public tolerance regarding his wealth. On the other hand, critics argue that Putin's wealth, as well as the wealth of his allies, represents a systemic abuse of power. In Russia, where many people continue to live in poverty or face economic hardship, the accumulation of vast fortunes by the ruling elite is seen as a sign of corruption and inequality. Public discontent has been growing, especially in light of widespread sanctions and economic hardships, which many blame on Putin's policies. Opposition figures, including the exiled Alexei Navalny, have made it a key point in their campaigns to expose the lavish lifestyles of the Kremlin elite and highlight the vast gulf between the political class and ordinary Russian citizens. Navalny's investigations have been particularly impactful, bringing global attention to the scale of corruption in Russia and the extent to which Putin's wealth is tied to his hold on power. Conclusion: an enigma of power and wealth. Vladimir Putin's wealth remains one of the most enigmatic and contentious aspects of his leadership. While no definitive figure can be attached to his fortune, it is clear that his financial dealings are intimately linked to the control he has over Russia's economy, its natural resources, and its powerful oligarchic network. Despite numerous investigations and reports, the true scale of Putin's wealth remains a matter of speculation. What is certain is that his wealth is inseparable from his political power, and both are deeply intertwined with the broader governance of Russia. In the absence of official transparency, and with the complex web of state control, private interests, and financial secrecy, any discussion of Putin's fortune will remain incomplete and subject to varying interpretations. Ultimately, the lack of definitive answers only adds to the mystery surrounding Putin's personal wealth. It serves as a reminder of the vast and often hidden influence that powerful leaders can exert over their countries, and the difficulties in untangling the interests of the state from those of the individual. As Russia's future continues to unfold, so too will the questions surrounding Putin's wealth and its implications for both the nation and the world.